Welcome to the Frontline Innovation Podcast, the voice of problem solvers. Innovation isn't just about ideals. It's about dismantling the barriers that stand between people and the solutions they actually need. This is where real human problems collide with real-world constraints, where innovators don't chase hype. They study people, break problems apart, and build solutions that actually work. Because the hardest part of innovation isn't creating something new. It's building useful fixes to people's problems and getting it into their hands. Each episode, we go inside that journey with leaders, designers, builders, and problem solvers doing the hard, often invisible work of making innovation real. I'm your host, William Reed. Let's get to work dismantling human problems. William D. Reed is a speaker, innovation strategist, technologist, and founder of Willway Labs, where he helps organizations close the gap between ideals and real-world value. With more than 20 years of experience across technology, digital infrastructure, cybersecurity, enterprise risk, consulting, sales, marketing, and business strategy, he brings a rare cross-functional perspective to today's most urgent business challenges. Why do so many solutions still fail the people they are meant to serve? His signature topic, Frontline Innovation, challenges leaders, product teams, founders, and problem solvers to rethink innovation from the point where people, problems, systems, and solutions actually meet. William believes the real test of innovation is not what we create. It is whether what we create works for people in the real world. Drawing from a career that spans both technical execution and business strategy, William helps audiences see beyond features, launches, and internal assumptions. His work focuses on understanding real human needs, dismantling friction, reimagining solutions, and delivering value that earns trust, drives adoption, and creates meaningful impact. As the host of the Frontline Innovation Podcast and the voice behind Willway Labs' people-centric innovation platform, he explores the hidden disconnects between problem solvers and the people they serve. His message resonates with organizations navigating transformation, customer experience challenges, product innovation, AI disruption, operational complexity, and the pressure to create solutions that matter. Williams' talks are known for combining strategic insight, human-centered thinking, and practical frameworks audiences can immediately apply. Whether speaking to corporate leaders, innovation teams, entrepreneurs, marketers, sales organizations, or technology professionals, he delivers a clear and compelling call to action. Stop shipping complexity and start delivering value that works where it matters most, on the front line. So on this episode of the Frontline Innovation Podcast, I thought I would take a little bit of time to really dive a little bit deeper into the aspect of innovation on the front lines from the perspective of the individual user. In this case, this user, we're talking about the problem solver. This is the person who goes on a journey, when you think about it, to actually make a difference in this world. And this covers a wide variety of types of people across the board. I wanted to first start off with the journey itself. This is someone going through a process of observing something in their world that they decide they want to do something about it. This problem manifests itself personally, potentially, with people around you, your friends, your colleagues, your family members, or it could be the larger society as a whole. But you notice something that's looks like it's friction, maybe it's frustration that you're seeing or hearing or witnessing. You can see this other people are facing these challenges, these obstacles they're trying to get through. and they may not necessarily know how to overcome them, how to fix the problem. And they may be looking and searching for something that they can go out into the marketplace and find a fix for. So the problem solver themselves, when we talk about frontline innovation, initially senses this problem, and it can manifest itself in many different ways. And many times people will go out and buy a service or a product or try to find an experience that meet these needs. And sometimes they come away frustrated that what they're looking for they can't find. But on the front line, that we have a problem solver who decides, they experience this, but they want to understand this problem deeper. And we start to think about understanding problems. We got to make sure we spend enough time to really take this problem apart that's of interest. Otherwise, we can end up making recommendations which aren't helpful to people who are in need. Sometimes we'll go out there, we'll start our own businesses, or we'll work in our existing organizations, and we'll spend a lot of time designing and building the wrong solutions. Or potentially we've got the right solution, but we just can't get the word out to the right people that the solution exists for a myriad of reasons. But when we think about the problem solver themselves, this journey they go on of sensing this problem, and they realize they need to dig deeper. They need to understand this human reality of the people who are experiencing this discomfort, this friction, this pain. And to do that, you have to really observe their environment. Where do they live? How do they interact with this problem? How does the problem manifest itself? What are the emotions around it? How big of a deal is it? Where does it happen? How often? And then looking at maybe some things that the people are doing to address this issue now, maybe address some of the symptoms. But you really want to get into the mindset now of beyond just, hey, I've heard of a problem, I saw a problem, to really dig deeper. Because you really need to frame the problem properly. You need enough context around what are the different aspects and factors that create the problem, that are driving the pain points, and really what makes it difficult for the solutions that are available today to address them, right? How powerful is this problem? You most got to think of the problem as something maybe of a living being that is active in what it does and the effect it has on actual real people. And you want to be able to frame it in such a way that you can separate the symptoms from the actual root causes of what this problem is. And then you need to dig even deeper after this. You need to see all the systems around the problem itself. A lot of times there are factors external to the person itself, an immediate impact that is driving it or making it difficult to address the issues here. So we want to be able to identify the constraints and dependencies of both the existing problem and existing approaches or solutions that people may have tried in the past and not been successful. So step back a little bit. You've done your due diligence. You've empathized with the person that you see are having this problem. You think you have a good grasp of it. You kind of understand all the different variables and factors that are affecting it. And once you feel comfortable with that, at some point, you're going to go to that next stage here in the journey to reimagine a potential fix. And as we talk about it all the time on the Frontline Innovation Podcast, this is beyond potentially building something new, a tangible product. It's not limited to that. It could be as simple as a different approach or the mindset the person has or something they haven't reached that might be available now for them to address their problems. And then on the other end, obviously, it could be something that doesn't exist, that you have to actually design it, build it. Maybe you have to create a new business from the ground up to actually get this thing to market, to get this into the hands of people who need this. So you have to reimagine what a fix is for this particular problem. And you're off to a great start, though, when you spent that upfront time to really understand what it was. It's going to give you that roadmap to figure out where you should start to ideate on potential fixes. Is it going to be something? It's going to be a new solution that requires a service? Is it going to require a product? Is it going to be a combination of the two? Will the person at the end of it actually even know it's a product or a service? Maybe it creates an experience, but it's something that they feel that it fixes their problem. And then you got to make sure you test this, right? Make sure it actually works. And if you're going after a symptom or multiple symptoms, that's fine. Just make sure you're very clear up front of what your potential fix is addressing. Is it the root cause? Is it symptoms? Is it going to be a temporary fix, a long-term fix? You're going to be very clear on this because when you go to deliver this to the market, you got to let people know that the solution now exists, whatever that solution is. You need to make sure that they're educated on what it is and how to apply it, and that they're going to spend money with you to actually buy this fix, that they're very well informed about what this is, what it does do and what it doesn't do. And then from that, you can learn and adapt, right? You got to be able to take what you receive from feedback from people who may have bought your solution, who think this is going to fix their problem. And then you learn from it. So the market will give you feedback. Sometimes it's very brutal, but this is going to be a journey where it's may force you to go back to the drawing board if it doesn't work, if people don't buy what you've built. It could be that you don't understand the problem well enough. Maybe you framed it, but you missed some key elements. Maybe some of the system factors you didn't really account for properly. Or maybe when you got to the process of designing the fix, that some of the input costs were off and you really couldn't address it as well. That's fine. So this journey may look linear here from problem to fix, but understanding reality, this is a human problem, human endeavor here to really understand what is it that's going to take to actually fix this problem. Obviously, it's a problem that caught your attention, that you made the decision you're going to do something about. And in the end, you may find out you made an attempt at it and you failed with it, but you're going to learn from it. Maybe you take a different tact in the future. Maybe you alter the solution itself. Maybe you make a determination that the systems around your existing solution have some limitations. So you may have to go back to the drawing board and make a determination of what that means. So it's a very complicated process. Obviously, it's millions of people every day getting up to try this and delivering solutions all the time that we're beneficiary of now. But in the front line of innovation, this is the everyday endeavor to get up, re-examine problems, re-examine current fixes, current approaches, and see what we can do. Now, that's the journey. And I was looking at different ways of looking at the individual person themselves. So I started to get into this concept of identity. How can we characterize each individual person of how they may show up to address a problem? And as you start to get into organizations, you realize that different people in the organization take on different roles, different responsibilities. But as core, if you have a job or if you're in business, every single individual is taking on some type of persona. Sometimes they wear individual ones where they're mostly focused. A lot of times you're going to see overlaps, right? So especially if you get smaller companies, they wear multiple hats. I want to take that back a little bit more abstracted for less of the role and title specifically of what people have, but just more of the nature of frontline problem solving, to think about a role a little bit differently here. And we started to think about fixing the problem, right? It's a solution that you're thinking of or that you're working on, or you're part of the ecosystem that's actually delivering a solution. So it's not just you built a solution, but we got to go across that journey for actually activating the value that someone potentially trades you value, in most cases money, that this doesn't end up on the shelf, right? That your solution didn't end up somewhere that they bought it and it's not producing the value, right? So we want to be focusing on value exchange. So we saw the problem, we identified the problem best as we can, and the greatest satisfaction is once you exchange value, the person used it, and you've actually confirmed that it fixed their particular problem, and that's a great thing. So I've developed these four identities here, kind of starting with the problem analyzer. This is that role in the mind, and once again, every individual can have all four of these identities, but it's good to have a starting point to see what's your most dominant one. And as you get into beyond just the one person, into the small groups and the larger teams and eventually to larger organizations, you'll see people have different dominant roles, but in combination, all these four roles have to be done very well and orchestrated to actually deliver value to people. So when I look at this problem analyzer, I'm really thinking about someone who really dives in deep. And as we looked at on that journey of problem solving, we really got to be able to take these problems apart more fully. Most people will hear about a problem and then go surface level, but this problem analyzer has to go deep, right? We have to be from a system level, understand more deeply what's driving those problems and then the limitations of existing approaches and fixes. And then we start to think about the solution designer. How do you ideate potential fixes? How do you take all the input costs, the trade-offs you have to make from cost to functionality to capabilities when you're dealing with actual people and constraints with just building anything in this world? But how do you design this solution, especially when it might not be actually developing a product or a tangible thing, but actually a mindset shift, which is very important. And then once you go through that, this necessarily not be the same person or team to actually get that message out into the real world. So when you start talking about the value activator, you're talking about people are letting the world know this fix exists, cutting through all the market noise, getting awareness, getting people to be aware of it, and then interacting with them in a way that you haven't experienced, right? It's a buying experience where you have to educate the prospect, let them know we see your problem. We've developed something that might be able to help, might be able to fix this problem. We can help you feel comfortable with the pricing and the value that you're going to get, be able to transact that right in the efficient manner, and get to the point where we help you use this solution, use it the way it was designed for, and then make sure it works. To make sure at the end of the day that the fix does take and it's actually effective. We say that's delivering value and not just selling something that people aren't going to use or partially use, but we want to make sure that it actually does what we think it should do based off the way it was designed. And I kept thinking about these three, and I almost stopped there, but I almost wanted to put more focus on the system elements as well. So we initially talked about that in problem analyzer, but taking on the system design and system mindset that everything we do in the world as humans, all the problems, all the solutions, all the challenges manifest themselves in a system of many, many systems that we're interacting with. A lot of complexity here, a lot of things out of your individual control of producing this solution and those who are experiencing it. It's a higher level when we start to think about the system alchemists who are putting all these components together. And often it's at this most dominant identity that you're going to really figure out what's possible with real world constraints. Really drill down to finding out what's possible today and what you might think of in the future. So I've developed this profiler here. I would love to everybody to take a look at it, run through the assessment, which will take less than 5 minutes to do, to start as a point of understanding yourself better, as when you see a problem in the world, what's your most dominant approach to it? And that'll lead to a larger conversation about how you and your team interact with each other, how the different entities are come together to really produce something. So it's a very interesting exercise that you may find that you may have gaps in your team and find that, hey, you guys produce great solutions consistently, but you have consistent poor performance from a business because you really can't activate the value. Or you do a very good job of understanding the problem, but when you design the solution, just the way you go about it is not designed in a way that's really going to hit the root cause the way you thought. Or it could just be outside your control completely, and it's on maybe the individual side where their behavior needs to change in certain ways. And if it doesn't, they won't be able to get value for what you produced. So a very complicated process, this problem-solving journey. But hopefully this tool here will help people really focus in on their strengths as a team, as an organization, as a business, and really focus in more efforts to make sure you're covering this entire journey properly. So hopefully this will be helpful. So I encourage everybody to take a look at this problem-solving identity assessment. Like I said, it runs pretty quickly, 12 questions, less than 5 minutes in most cases. And I'd love to have a conversation with you as I explore and try to build community around a problem-solving innovation community who is really focusing on making a larger dent in the number of unmet human needs out there. So this will be it for this episode of the Frontline Innovation Podcast. I will see everybody soon. Take care. That has been another episode of the Frontline Innovation Podcast. Thank you for your time. Innovation doesn't end with a great idea or a product on the shelf. It continues through the realization that someone's problem was fixed after they used the solution. If this episode helped you see a problem more clearly or think differently about how solutions reach the front lines, share it with someone who's doing that work alongside you. And if you're building, designing, selling, or supporting solutions meant to last, subscribe to the Frontline Innovation Podcast, the voice of problem solvers. Because progress isn't driven by ideals alone. It's built by those willing to dismantle problems and do the work that follows. Until next time, stay on the front line and go dismantle a human problem.